There is more stuff about Giannis that I wanted to get into with Amin El-Hassan, but he, again, is having some sort of stomach issues or whatever it is that he has to deal with all the time that makes him run in and out of the show. So what we're going to do is at the end of this hour, we are going to give you some concentrated Giannis talk from both Izzy and Amin on Giannis, because so many people are interested and fascinated about what that is going to be, because there's going to be very little in sports that's going to be garnering more attention than who's going to add the instant hope of we can get Giannis at 30 years old coming off of his best season. So we're going to put that at the end of this hour, a little sprinkling of Oddball to go with your finals coverage. I saw a headline the other day that I thought had been written by Stugotz, and it made me wonder what Stugotz would make of the following headline, which read, "Coward decommits from Duke, will stay in the NBA draft."
Coward decommits from Duke, stays in the NBA draft? I have no idea what that means. Did Cooper Flagg decide to, what happened?
No, there's a player named Cedric Coward.
Really?
Yeah,
it's a terrible name.
I get it.
Poor guy.
It is a bad name, but is it as bad as Braves reliever Scott Blewett? There was a kicker named Blewett, too. Wasn't there at Pittsburgh or FSU or something? Wasn't there? I was trying to think. Like, we've talked before about Bob Walk being a terrible name for a pitcher, but I think Blewett's worse.
Kenny Pickett, not bad.
Chris Blewett.
That's
not the joke. That's his name.
Right.
Chris Blewett.
The kicker's name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which was he from Pittsburgh or from FSU? Where am I remembering a Blewett?
He was on the Bears in 2019.
Not helpful. That's a different. That's
he went to Pitt.
Okay, thank you. Blewett, put it on the poll as well. Blewett, is it a worse name for a kicker or a reliever?
Lifetime 40% field goal percentage.
He's currently the kicker for the Houston Roughnecks.
He still has a job.
I want to play some funny sound for you guys from lacrosse. At the moment, the funniest sound that we have in our archive is Stugotz on ESPN calling a game as the color man and getting it precisely wrong on a game-winning situation. Here is Stugotz during his this would be the greatest moment of your color commentary, play-by-play career at ESPN or anywhere else, correct?
Greatest and only, yes.
Yes. Well, you have others, but you have bad moments that are around our team. But in terms of national pride on anything you're talking about, you calling a lacrosse game on ESPN is a broadcasting highlight for you.
And for context here, he's talking about Sam Apuzzo, who's, I believe, one of the best players in this.
At the time, she was the best player in the world, yes.
And you're saying here in this analysis, like late in the game, they shouldn't go to her.
They were doing that the entire game. They were using Sam as a decoy, and everyone else was scoring the goals. And so I figured they would, stick with what got them there.
But let's see if what Stugotz says should happen happened.
So I've noticed the last couple of BC possessions where it seems like they've tried to force Sam. Sam tried to force something. I'd rather see someone other than Sam get the shot here. And Brick, what I mean by that is they've been better offensively today when Sam's not forcing the action, been more of a decoy than the one generating the offense. Apuzzo going. She's going.
Shot off the wall, Boston College! On the shoulders of the Town winner, Sam Apuzzo will be heading to the national championship game for a third straight year.
She was due. I mean, still a bad decision. Great call, by the way.
The analysis by Stugotz sounded solid. The result is as bad as it could have gone.
It actually, like the way he delivered it was as well as I
was
heard
very
him do
confident.
that. Yes.
Right, yes.
So this next
That's
sound,
the analyst game, by the way. I mean, you got to say things, you got to fill time, and occasionally you're going to be wrong. I mean,
well, in this clip, we have Holy Cross versus Sacred Heart. This was a few weeks back.
The Crusaders.
Big matchup. And this is one of those instances where some fan realizes, oh, look, there's a microphone right there that I can get on this broadcast. So what you're going to hear here is just normal broadcast, and then all of a sudden you're going to hear something out of left field, and it's just a fan who found a microphone.
And now we'll get our penalty. So Sacred Heart to the man up, trailing by 2 at the beginning of this fourth quarter.
Lot of
of people saying Sacred Heart has diarrhea.
Okay, we apologize for our crowd mic.
That's what you do.
Okay. I love
The announcer getting in there that quickly before the Rhea gets out in diarrhea. The announcer realizing the predicament that the broadcast is in and coming in with an okay.
2 at the beginning of this fourth quarter.
Lot of people saying Sacred Heart has diarrhea.
Okay, we apologize for our crowd mic.
He lets him go, though. Does he think for a second? Is this a sideline reporter?
This is going to end well.
You know what?
I mean-
I've got to say that the way that he did the sing-song on a lot of people saying you wanted to hear him out. And it's not until he got to diarrhea, the key word that closes out the conversation, that things became problematic.
2 at the beginning of this fourth quarter.
Lot of people saying Sacred Heart has diarrhea.
Okay, we apologize for our crowd mic.
Fairness, that person's not saying it, just reporting a lot of people
A lot
are
of
saying
people
it.
are,
Yeah.
and there's a live mic. I mean,
Yeah.
But
right.
I've got to tell you, though, that once you've started with the lot of people saying, you got to get to the end of it. Like, you can't cut that person off. You got to find out what a lot of people are saying. Perfect execution by the stray ancillary sound of the person who got to the microphone and teased the broadcaster just enough to get to the word diarrhea. And then the broadcaster's like, okay.
How did he know the timing? Because this guy starts talking right as they
It's perfect.
stop. It's
It's perfect.
He can't hear the broadcast.
It's wonderful.
2 at the beginning of this fourth quarter.
Lot of people saying Sacred Heart has diarrhea.
Okay, we apologize for our crowd mic.
I'm glad they played through it. Yeah. If they do have diarrhea.
Reckless speculation. I have some reckless speculation. That person sounds a lot. Wait, should I do it? Should I?
Hold on a second. Hold on. You
Hold
can't
on.
do this
Yep,
this
just
way.
wait
What are
a
you
second.
doing? Quit being irresponsible.
Time to throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless. Here is something we like to call reckless speculation.
You're good.
That sounded like Sarah Spain.
Wow.
The person who says "lot." Play it again. Sounds like Sarah Spain.
Doesn't sound
Hold
like
on.
Sarah
Let's hear him out.
Spain.
2 at the beginning of this fourth quarter.
Lot of people saying Sacred Heart has diarrhea.
Okay, we
It
apologize
sounds like
for
Hanley,
our
who
crowd
Josh
mic.
Allen married.
I can hear a little bit of it.
No, I don't.
little
I
bit.
don't
Being a
hear
good
what you're
teammate,
saying.
Tony.
It's the
I think though
playfulness of Sarah.
we can all agree. I believe that the sing-song nature of that fan,
people.
combined with the accusation that ends with spraying liquid, is perfect, made better only by the announcer's discomfort comedically right
2 at the
afterwards.
beginning of this fourth quarter.
Lot of people saying Sacred Heart has diarrhea.
Okay, we apologize for our crowd mic.
I hear it more.
I don't.
Tint of Spanish there.
I'm more
he
confused
says
than
it,
ever.
yeah.
I mean,
It sounds exactly like Sarah Spain when she's trying to do like Chicago accent Sarah Spain.
Also, probably an inside job, right? How do you know where that microphone is and what that microphone is for? I'm not saying the person knew or the broadcaster knew, but someone knew and told someone who told someone else what that was for, and that's how that happened. Because how else would you do that as a broadcaster?
I'm fine about that investigation. I'd also like a TV detective show where Pablo Torres shows up and happens to have a few questions for you about everything that happened there. I believe that not only was it an inside job that the participant knew that a microphone was nearby, I believe it was practiced. That sentence was practiced. The
Wow.
conclusion of
Rehearsed.
diarrhea was practiced. And the sing-song way that makes it that you have to stay with it till the end of the thought, I believe all of that is something that was not impromptu, that was something that was given a lot of consideration. And I also believe that it's an excellent insult to file at Sacred Heart. To say that a lot of people are saying that Sacred Heart as an institution has digestive issues, that when they're in private, they have liquid because they can't control their bowels.
Is that an insult?
Yes.
Why?
To accuse someone of having diarrhea.
I love a good diarrhea.
happens.
Put it on
Yeah.
the poll at
You can't
LeBatard
you
Show.
can't control it.
I feel
mean,
good after.
right.
A day or two after I have it, I'm good.
Yeah.
Looking light.
I go
feeling
instantly.
good.
I'd say 5 minutes after I feel good.
Yep.
No way.
It's kind of like throwing up afterwards.
Yeah.
Much better.
Oh, so much better than a diet, too.
Cagalitroso is a great Spanish insult. Cagalera is funnier as a word in Spanish than diarrhea is in English. And I believe it is an insult to accuse someone of having diarrhea? Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. If you've accused someone of having diarrhea, are you aspiring to insult them?
A lot of people saying Sacred Heart has diarrhea.
Okay, we apologize for our crowd mic.
That okay is just okay.
Dan, I have something here that just hit me, but I think Amin can help
Careful.
me. So Amin, when you make a shot in a basketball game, that's a random shot that shouldn't have gone in, what do you call it?
Happy birthday is usually what you say to the guy who shot it, right?
A CAG, shot. Right? You call it a CAG.
A CAG?
Yeah, a CAG.
Wow.
That is something that's actually uniquely Miami.
Is that a Miami
Tony,
thing?
excellent, because I did not know until this moment. We've talked before about CAG being something that Hispanics in Miami say, and we've also talked before about whether that is just, as Billy likes to say, a uniquely Miami expression. But I really didn't know until right now that
it's cagalera.
I did not know that to CAG, it's to get lucky on a basketball shot or to get lucky in general. I did not know that was shortened for cagalera for diarrhea in Spanish.
Yes,
First time learning of that.
When I play basketball, when we've always played basketball in here, like, oh, you made that shot from half court, it's a CAG. Or you made the shot that banks off the side when you're shooting from the angle, it's a CAG.
You always used to say happy birthday, to indicate, like, okay.
Now you know
Lucky.
it's a CAG.
Lucky day.
So
diarrhea.
Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. What do you say on a lucky bank shot in basketball? Happy birthday, CAG, or banks open?
How long have you been hearing CAG, though, Dan?
Banks open is only when you're the one who made it. Right? When you make the bank shot,
you have to bank it. Right.
You got to bank it. You say banks open.
Banks open.
Extra points if you do it either at night or on the weekend.
Yes.
Do it on a Sunday run. Oh my God, banks open.
Do you guys not assume? Cade Cunningham hit a game winner earlier this year where it was from 3 and he banked it in.
Here against the Heat?
I would think that for a basketball player, it's slightly diluted to hit the game winner that way. Just a little, that it's not quite as great.
If there was no backboard, do you know how far past the rim that ball would go?
But I'm maintaining, though, that not all game winners are equal. That if a player in the NBA makes one on a bank, it feels plenty good, but it doesn't feel as good as making it clean.
Dan, the unwritten rule is if you hit a game or buzzer-beating bank shot that you did not mean to bank, you have to shrug and smile like, oh my God, how lucky. You have to acknowledge that wasn't on purpose. Now, if you're like Tim Duncan falling away and you hit that bank shot, bank's open.
Yeah.
Well, he's the only one who has 24/7 bank hours all over the world, any country, any time of
Dirk
day.
had extended hours as well.
Not the
extended
same.
hours.
No, he can get extended hours, but only Tim Duncan's got that private banker that's always answering.
Always on call.
When he's got a call.
Him and you, Dan.
I also imagine Tim Duncan walking into a bank.
Same.
I'm not making up what I'm telling you from
know.
yesterday. But I think you guys imagine me leaving with a garbage bag that has a dollar bill sign on the side, and it's not that.
That wouldn't be smart.
It was just a stack of bills that were wrapped in a small garbage bag. It was not.
I had you like Santa Claus. The thing was over your shoulder. So much
Money
cash.
flowing
Could only be one thing.
Because remember, guys, it's too much money to take out from an ATM, apparently. Yeah. So it's got to be an amount of money.
The daily limit's $600 on an ATM.
How much you spend a day in cash?
Again, I'm not doing it for the day.
What's a daily limit?
You keep doing that. Yeah, but I don't want to have to go back to the bank. Like
I don't think you like going to the bank.
I don't
I
mind.
think you like
to the bank.
interacting.
Yeah,
you
you
talk
seem
to
to
your
enjoy
teller.
it.
Hey,
Yeah.
Phyllis, how's it going?
I sometimes go into the
kids?"
bank and just don't even take out any money. Just I make them say out loud how much I got in here, and then I leave.
Well,
I always learn my bank limits at a casino when it's like you can't take any more out.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
They shame you.
It's just like, yeah, you've taken
I
it
could have
out.
swore I had more.
They're
like,
doing
buddy,
it for you, Chris.
Hey, buddy, you have a family.
I wish I had a spot like the bank or whatever where I just kind of go and hang out. Like that's my waiting room. I don't really have business.
How about the
that
bakery that
day,
you went to
just
get
go.
your pastelitos?
Nah.
They pulled up a picture, by the way.
See,
of
not a home
Dan's
bakery,
money
Dan.
bag.
I knew it.
This is Dan's money bag from yesterday.
It was a very small bag that I put in my pocket, but it was that material of trash bag. And it was very, I didn't even understand what was happening. It felt like I was doing something illegal. They simply,
You felt alive,
They simply gave me, it was raining so hard. I don't know where else this is happening. It must be happening all over the world.
Hold on, Dan.
Are you calling a 20?
I am.
What are you doing?
I'm calling 20. Hold on. Dan, you said it was wrapped in the plastic and then you put it in your pocket, right? Then if it's in your pocket, why does it need to be wrapped from plastic to protect from the rain? It's in your pocket.
Again, this is the teller not knowing where I was going to put it or if I was going to put it in my pocket.
Phyllis.
Big pockets.
It's not. What are you doing?
Phyllis is the name of the teller in the story we were just telling.
Yeah.
Why did you just blurt?
It was a callback.
Yeah, to the story. Yeah.
That's
You
your
walk in,
teller.
hey, Phyllis, how's it going? I'm here
How are
for
the
the
kids?
usual.
Yeah.
Exactly. Phyllis gives you some mints.
Are we
On
still
with your day.
making Phyllis's?
Well,
Only at the bank.
Do we do mints at banks?
yeah. And
Really?
and banks, I have a question for you guys. On a technicality.
We're going to take a full time out here.
You go into the bank. Banks have pens.
You know what? I'm going to take an 8-minute timeout here.
Well, I mean, that's rude. You go and you have
8 minutes.
you go and a lot of banks have pens now that are on those chains so they don't get lost,
so
whatever.
you don't steal the pen, yeah.
But if it's the cup and it says like Regions Bank, I don't even know if that's still a bank, but whatever. The bank is there and it's all a bunch of pens in a pen cup, right? And you take the pen and then you go home. Did you rob a bank?
Oh, man, that's...
You robbed something from the bank.
Did you rob a bank?
Hold on. I'm following you here, Billy. Now I have some follow-up questions. The pen, does it have like a piece of paper at the end and a lot of Scotch tape around it?
No,
or is it
not
just,
this one. This is a high-end bank.
Just a regular pen?
It's a cup of pens. It has a pen in it. You take the pen.
It's locked in with one of those little tiny ball and socket pens.
No.
He's saying it's a
that one.
loose pen.
Loose
That's what
pen.
he's
Loose
saying.
pen.
Yes, a loose
But
pen.
it
Love the
has the
little
bank's name on
Love
it.
the little ball
There
and
you go.
socket.
That was the second question.
It's
Second question,
branded,
if
yeah.
it's branded, and it's in a cup, that's yours to take, man.
Really?
Thank you for banking with us.
Okay, what if it was on the chain and you're in a pinch and you go and you take it off and then you walk out?
Now you rob
If
the
it's on a
bank.
chain, you're stealing. Yes.
You're a bank robber.
Right. They chained it there for a reason.
The In-N-Out Bandit.
They don't want you to take it.
One of the things COVID did to us was at these doctor offices, all appointments now, when you sign in anywhere, it's here's the clean cup, and then when you're done with it, put it in this cup. We're done with that, right? Can we get back to just cups?
I don't
Put the
think-
pens in the cups.
Chris, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think anyone ever followed the rules on that one. Anyway.
Sometimes I go crazy. I grab from the dirty cup.
What's the cup situation?
They have two cups. They have pens in one cup, and it says clean.
They sanitize pens now, so
And
it's
then-
like there's a cup full of pens. You take one. Once you've signed with it, put it into the dirty
Into
cup.
the next
Chris,
cup.
I never dealt
Chris,
with
hold
that.
on.
I'm with Chris. Let's just
Hold
sign
on.
it and put it back in
Hold
the
on.
cup. I mean,
Chris, you have them sanitizing. I have them just switching the cups like this. All right, this one's full now.
to give the appearance of
The clean is the
sanitizing.
dirty, and the dirty is the
At this
clean.
point, I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, what are we
You're
doing
not
here?
cleaning
The idea
shit.
of someone still to like, let me. Well, yeah.
I wonder what the day was. Like, what was the day that you're like, you know what? I'm done with this. Because, like, you know how they tell you, like, oh, this is the last time you ever play outside with your brother and sister. This is the last time you were in your yard and you ever played. You didn't realize it at its time. Like, those sentimental, like, posts, whatever. There was a day for everyone where you're like, you know what? I'm done with these protocols. Not for me anymore. I'm moving on. I'm no longer wiping down my groceries with wipes. I'm no longer sanitizing my pens after I go to the doctor.
I did mine about 6 months before I admitted publicly.
Well, that was everyone's move, right?
We were still in COVID.
We would come on the air, we're like, how dare people go to concerts? And then this weekend, like, oh, we're going to go see this weekend.
I live in Arizona and I work in Florida, and I can tell you unequivocally that there are plenty of people where it never began. Yeah. They just get. I remember that first day.
Tampa.
First day I went outside and I was like, okay, I got to go to the grocery store, and I masked up and I had everything. And I thought, like, I'm going to go to Costco and it's going to be empty. That was so packed. The parking lot looked like Black Friday. Everyone was in there. Nobody masked up. Everyone just running around coughing and touching things. It was crazy.
God bless America.
What was the dumbest thing we did in that? I'm going to say that I'm just going to speak for myself.
Wow.
The dumbest thing I did during COVID was hold my breath while walking by someone in a grocery store.
Oh, you meant that. I thought you meant the most reckless thing you did.
No, like I'm
Wait, you actually did this?
like I'm not playing that
Like
game.
took the job.
Wait, hold on. I want to hear more about this. You were walking through the grocery store.
And as like if I was going in an aisle and someone was passing me, I would I don't want
you
to breathe
did that
in.
as well?
Yeah, of course.
job.
A lot of people were doing
I would
that.
Was
walk
the other
off.
person doing it to you?
I would walk off the sidewalk onto like grass mounds
Yes.
and wave for people. I'm 6 feet, and I would go up and things, and I was like off-roading just with my legs.
I think
Yeah.
the wiping down of the milk carton was pretty dumb.
Yep, that was
like,
dumb.
I was like washing milk cartons, and and then like, oh, I missed the spot. I got to go back and scrub it all over.
But we had the indoor-outdoor clothes also, right?
yeah.
I think that was like
Yeah.
a common
Well,
thing.
I don't think I ever did that.
I don't like. Well, yeah, you're talking about taking off your clothes before you even enter the house, right?
Well, I was in an apartment, so like I would come in and then like disrobe right in the doorway and just
Hell
like
yeah.
walk through and
What a time.
Baby.
go put on my other clothes. How do you think us now with young children that are growing up, when they like publish like the new history books or whatever that come out, in like 20 years, because history really only happens in like 20-year increments as far as schools go, I think, right? Like it's like, well, this one was printed in 2004, so hopefully nothing happens until 2030 because that's when the new edition is coming out. We're not updating any history between now and then, right?
No chance.
So when this comes out and is like published and your kids are in, I don't know, 7th grade, 8th grade or whatever, and it's like, so in 2020, right? 2020, it's this worldwide pandemic, and no one could leave the house, and you had to be in there. And then your kids are like, you went through this? What's the play? Let's all get on the same page here. So we tell our, what is the play?
Make it seem worse.
A lot of video games.
Are we like, man, it was, you're never going to experience anything like this. Hopefully, if you're lucky, you will never experience anything like this. You'll be like, man, it's kind of chill,
I'm not telling the truth.
Talk to people, got to work from home for a while.
You're going to do the 15 miles to school every day kind of
my
thing?
God.
We're still there.
This is the thing. Like my kids, obviously they went through it. They were in school when it happened. But like my grandchildren, I'm going to tell them like, well, it was a crazy time, and it'll be like Mad Max. I'm going to describe Mad Max.
Bodies were on the floor in the streets.
We were going around like people. One guy had a guitar and he was kind of like leaning back and forth on the front of this truck.
There was a Tiger King.
And I mean, you have to talk about how, like, the measures you went to protect the grandchildren, the kids, everything, right?
Well, I think the devil is in the details, right? Like, obviously, the medical stuff was very serious. A lot of people lost their lives. We're not making light of that. But once we get to, like, the toilet paper section of the history, that's when it's like, and you had to go, and there wasn't toilet paper for weeks on end. And you had to go buy toilet paper, and you'd have to get a tip from someone. This is where the toilet paper is. This is where the good stuff is. That's where I had to go to Charmin. That's where the Angel Soft was.
In New York, they used to, at the end of every day, they would open their windows and take pots and pans and clang them.
Oh, that was so
like
annoying.
To celebrate like the people.
Not
who
in New
work-
York, but like the Italian cities where they all like decide, oh, you know what? We all play the trombone now. And it's like, I would have moved. I would have moved. Honestly, you open the window like, it's like, shut the fuck up.
You're enjoying your silence.
I can't get out of my house.
Right.
Stop. You guys are terrible with your instruments. Stop it.
Content creators exploded in 2020. Like that's what really happened. Everyone after that went out and bought a Shure mic and a webcam.
The Shure mic.
And that's when everything fell apart.
I love it.
Great year for Shure mics and blue mics. Oh my God.
And weights, free weights.
Oh, free weights?
Like, it never recovered, by the way. I wanted to get a pair of dumbbells for the house, like $75 each. I'm like,
Oh my
$150
God, yeah.
for 25 pounds? Give me a
No,
break.
and then you're like, you know what? It's going to go back. And it never did. It
Sure,
never went back.
did. Just like
Sure
houses.
must have like meetings weekly of like, how do we get the pandemic back?
Oh, Zoom for sure is out there trying to like put out diseases into the world,
The
right?
pandemic made Zoom, though.
Yeah.
Right? Yes.
You know who made
Killed Skype somehow.
Wait,
Skype,
so you guys
I mean,
are
geez.
accusing
Come on,
Zoom
Skype.
of trying to create another
Get your act together,
pandemic?
Skype.
Skype
Not
really
trying
dropped the
to,
ball.
but they're thinking like,
You know who made a killing off of the Zoom blowing up? Andre Iguodala. He was
Really?
invested before
Iggy.
the pandemic.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Get out of here.
Dude, man, the guy's just smart.
Seems like he knew something.
Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. Maybe it's that. Maybe it was an inside job. Golden State Warriors did this. You think Steph Curry knew?
The luck of Andre Iguodala. I mean, seriously.
It's not luck. He's shrewd.
I'm sure he has some losers in there.
Karl Anthony Towns?
Coming up next, Oddball. Set it up for the people.
We're talking about Giannis destinations, folks. Is he coming to Toronto? Is he coming to New York? Is he coming right here to Miami? We're going to look at it. We're going to talk about it. Me and Izzy. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
Izzy, finals are in a couple of days. We got that little dead period. Media day hasn't happened yet, so there's not enough stuff to talk about. So what we're going to talk about is apparently Giannis Antetokounmpo could be on the move. That's the thing that everyone's talking about because he is the biggest superstar on the market. The free agency market, not really sexy. Giannis, that's sexy.
Yes.
And so we've got to find the sexiest location for sexy Giannis to be sexy under the bright lights. And we start, of course, on Broadway, right?
Right, with the New York Knicks, because not just because they were recently eliminated, not just because when Giannis was eliminated, he was seen walking the streets of New York City, but because the spokesman for New York, Stephen A. Smith, said something in regard to Giannis. And we have the quote, but we also have sound of the quote. So here it is.
Sure, let's play the sound. If you've got an opportunity to get Giannis, I don't give a damn who you have to give up to get him. You do it.
That was Stephen A. Smith himself. I mean, we mentioned it yesterday. You like the fit. I don't know of a team that's going to say, hey, I don't like the fit of Giannis, but you like the fit of Giannis in New York. You think, what level of possibility is this?
Let me be clear. Let's start with one thing and one thing only, which is we're not talking about what you got to give up to get him. We're just talking about he's here.
Okay.
How does he fit? I think he fits pretty good. Look, the Knicks clearly need a couple of things. Number one, they need consistent offensive production that's not named Jalen Brunson.
Right.
Number two, they need someone who can be active defensively.
Ideally, that same player.
Same player, yes. And so Giannis fulfills those things. Giannis, on his part, is not known as a closer because of his shooting struggles, because his free throw struggles. Who can forget bricking for chicken?
Who can forget Chris Whittingham famously saying that Giannis was a number 2 to Chris Middleton?
I could forget it.
All
I want to
let's all
forget
forget
it.
that.
I never want to
Ready?
remember that.
Okay, never
Boom.
remember that one again.
But the bricking for chicken thing is real, right? And so Jalen Brunson, the best closer in the league, would, in theory, be a great fit. Counterpoint, that's what we said about Damian Lillard 2 years ago.
Ah, true. Well, I will say that Jalen is a different style of player, maybe not hunting for threes as often as Damian does, which probably would be a bad thing, right? Wouldn't that clog up the paint if you're the New York Knicks, if Jalen wants to drive all the time, but so does Giannis? Look, I don't think if you're talking about not worrying about who you give up for him, you can't really discuss it with the Knicks because you're probably going to have to give up Karl Anthony Towns, which most people wouldn't really say, that, like, not even give it a second thought. Of course, you make that trade. And so if you're upgrading from Cat to Giannis, it doesn't matter if it fits particularly well. You just do it.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, any other combination of people too, because again, Giannis is a transcendent type player who just had the best season of his career. A lot of people are like, oh, he's past his prime. I'm like, nope, you're looking at his prime right now.
Can we do that really quick? Because again, I grew up in a time where the prime was pretty much detailed. Like it was explained, hey, you're in your prime from about the ages of 26, 27 to about 32. Like 33 was the high end of it. He's still 30 years old, Giannis. And in today's age where you feel like we're extending ourselves beyond our prime, you could imagine his prime being well into 35, 36. So that conversation to me is out the window.
Well, I mean, that's like Michael Jordan's prime was like, most people would have gone by the definition, the first three-peat, but he was more dominant in the second three-peat. Certainly a smarter, more cerebral player. And the Bulls were way more successful despite not having way more talent than they did in the first three-peat. Yeah, I would say that the prime is whenever you're playing your best basketball. That's when it is.
So it's clear he would be great and welcomed and they'd tear down the streets in New York.
Yes.
What about Miami? Since we're here. They've always been tied to Giannis back when he was available the first time, reportedly. He's got some ties to Bam Adebayo.
They asked him, hey, what are your favorite cities? Your favorite place in the league? You know, this on Twitter, and he responded, unsolicited, said Florida cities.
Yes. But this feels like a situation where Miami is just out of its depth, right? Not only when you have the Bucks GM saying, or reportedly, taking the approach of we're going to tear down the roster or strip clean the roster of whoever we trade him to. Miami, A, doesn't really have a very attractive roster, and B, hasn't really shown the willingness to part with some of those attractive pieces. So it's really a non-starter, isn't it?
It reminds me of the line from Dumb and Dumber where they break into Lloyd Christmas's apartment because they're looking for the briefcase. And
like most other movies, I've only seen this the one time, so you're going to have to remind me of the line.
It's the two henchmen, and they walk in, and the one henchman says, maybe we make a mess of the place to send a message. And the second henchwoman, I should say, looks around and says, I don't think they're going to get that message, right? It's like, we're going to strip clean to send them a message. And you look around like,
it's pretty squeaky clean already.
As is if you're Miami. Look, Bam Adebayo is not something that sneezes at as far as a starting point, right?
Right.
If it's Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero, I mean, it's pretty cool.
It might as well be an expansion franchise if you're the Miami Heat, getting Giannis and stripping everybody else.
Right. But the flip side of it is, if you're the Miami Heat, your claim to fame is we make lemonade out of lemons, right? We are the ones that squeeze blood out of a rock. And so you tell Giannis, look, we'll get this thing operational around you. We'll get tough guys who are going to play well. And obviously, you're coached by the best coach perhaps in the entire NBA, in Eric Spoelstra. That's your sales pitch. Unfortunately, I don't think it's the Giannis sales pitch that they'd have to worry about. It's the Bucks sales pitch where you're telling them, hey, this is the best you can do for a Giannis offer.
All right, so I don't know how much Giannis cares about repeating somebody else's path, but this was a LeBron path, right, to Miami. What about the Raptors? Well, we had the Kawhi Leonard path there, obviously won the championship, and there has been a little bit of smoke when it comes to the Raptors and the possibility of him heading there.
Yeah, I mean, and there's definitely a connection, right? There's very famous video of the Raptors war room on draft day 2013, trying to move up because they're trying to get to Giannis. They're trying to get to Giannis, and unfortunately, they could not. They just miss him. And so, because the Bucks take him at, I believe it was 15, I want to say 18, right? So, he knows, Giannis knows for a fact, they love him, right? Masai specifically loves him. Masai's Nigerian. Giannis obviously comes from a Nigerian family.
You're right at 15, by the way. There was somebody else famously taken at 18, but that's another show.
Okay. But you've got that connection there. Masai reportedly helped Giannis get his visa when he first came over here. So there's a lot of connections. And then obviously the Raptors have a history of going after players of African descent with, Siakam, OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, just to name a few from the conference finals alone, right?
Big sneeze.
And so I think there is definitely an affinity there. Again, it would be the kind of same situation we talk about Miami. It's like, Giannis, are you prepared to go to what is essentially a rebuild? And it comes back down to, I trust the front office and I trust the coaching. Now, the difference between Miami and Toronto is that Toronto actually has some stuff that's a little bit more savory to offer.
Some stuff, or not so sweet, but savory. Scotty Barnes, right, would be future face of the NBA, according to his coach.
Shout out, Coach.
It seems like a possible, obviously, somebody that the Bucks would want back. And this was a quote from Brian Windhorst really quick, where he said that the Raptors are trying to look for a big fish. So you would imagine that, and this is also Doug Smith, who's been at it forever at the Toronto Star. He reported Giannis and the Raptors had some mutual interest there. So there is, like I said, a lot of smoke there. I don't think Giannis really cares about repeating somebody else's path. It is what it is, right? He's already done it in Milwaukee, so nobody has the path that he took. But to me, you're right. It's one of those situations where it's like the Miami Heat. If you give up on Scotty Barnes, what do we really have there? It's not like a Kawhi Leonard situation where he was forced to go over there and didn't have an option.
If I'm the Toronto Raptors, you know what? I don't, as I'm trying to, all these people are trying to court John Horst, the GM of the Bucks. Say, come on. Oh, man, future fits the league, Scotty Barnes. You know what I don't want them to see? The video of Scotty Barnes rollerblading, because he's like, Scotty's like a 5-tool player, and he's young. He's the sky's the limit. He was an all-star for the first time this year, and then the video comes out, and you're like,
one of those tools is not rollerblading, apparently. And this, of course, is not Toronto. You can tell by looking at it. This is in Florida, and this is very much a Florida thing. Like, Scotty's just sitting on his couch and saying, you know what? I'm going to try rollerblading in the middle of a busy intersection.
Yeah, one of his teammates posted this and said, like, he actually fell immediately before this video starts, which totally believable.
He's going to mess up that face of the NBA.
All right, Izzy. Let's go ahead and tee up the next possible destination.
Where could that be?
Houston.
What? Yeah. The Houston Rockets give up on their homegrown talent that they clearly have enough of to win a championship just for this guy? No, I'm kidding. Of course, I do think that the Rockets should look into, like, they've already gone from up and coming team to team that needs a quote unquote like finishing piece, if you will. Obviously, Giannis is more than that. They would have to, probably give up on Jabari Smith Jr., probably Jalen Green, probably one of those young guys on the bench, maybe a Cam Whitmore, which I think if you're a Houston Rockets fan, you're saying, okay, fine. Like, I'm fine with that. Just leave me Sengun, leave me maybe the backcourt if you want, but if you want to touch the backcourt too, leave me Amen Thompson. If you want to bring on Giannis, do it, because that is like win the West automatically.
It's like in Half Baked when they break the news to Kenny that, hey, we found a way to post your bail.
I saw the movie just once. You're gonna have to tell me exactly what happens.
We gotta bail you out, Kenny, but it's gonna involve selling drugs. I know you frown upon that. And Kenny's like, go sell drugs. Do what I need to do. Get me out of here.
All right. Well, I think we have to get the headlines, but there is a possibility that the Thunder.
Let's do headlines tomorrow. Let's finish out with the San Antonio Spurs. How about that? You want to put them next to Wembanyama and then have like 18 million feet of just length everywhere on the court. They'll allow like 14 points a game. It'll be the most beautiful version of defensive basketball we've ever seen, no?
So we're moving on from, we're not talking about who they have to give up. We're just talking about the vision. Yeah. So they would effectively be like the anti-Warriors of 2015, right?
Yeah.
You won with all that shooting and not that much size. We win with nothing but size and defense.
Yeah.
And you know what? Every once in a while, make a three-pointer. Like, that to me is, if you want to go ahead and just talk about leaving your imprint and like changing the game. You won your little championship in Milwaukee. You became, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the Lou Alcindor, and now you're going to do absolutely wild shit with the San Antonio Spurs. That to me is the gamble of all gambles and the move to make.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, again, it's like Robinson and Duncan being together, where Robinson's still a great player, but then you got Duncan coming up in his prime.
All right, well, we got one last thing. We got another soundbite from Stephen A. Smith. Turns out he was watching Oddball live.
All right. Amino Hassan's impersonation of me is a defamatory abomination of linguistic gibberish. His acting is almost as bad as this ridiculous man's rollerblading abilities. They should both stay off the weed.
Look, I've been a colleague of Amin Hassan's for a long time, and I don't think I've actually seen him smoke anything. It's not really his drug of choice.
I don't think that was an actual Stephen A. Smith quote.
Really? Really? So I shouldn't defend you blindly?
I'm going on a limb and think that one was doctored.
All right.
Look at him rollerblade. He looks like a baby giraffe.
Folks out there in the audience, temperature's starting to turn up a little bit. That means a lot of you and your families and your friends are going outside, having a perfect grill day, maybe out by the pool. Now, imagine yourself, grill side. Your veggies, your meats, they're all prepped, ready to go. Kids running around in the background. Lawn, perfectly manicured to perfection. It all sounds pretty great. This sounds like a good time. Now you make that good time a Miller time, because it is all made better with a white can in your hand of that beautiful Miller Lite. Celebrating its 50th anniversary, Miller Lite. Almost 20 years have they been partnered with our show, making your good times Miller times every time out. There's just something about a perfect grilling day. Sun's out, friends show up, that first sip of Miller Lite, it just hits different. I've been stocking the cooler with Miller Lite for years on these grilling days, and for good reason. It's brewed for taste, and it's only 96 calories and 3.2 grams of carbs. This year, Miller Lite turns 50. That's 5 decades of cookouts, laughs, and ice-cold moments that never miss. It's the original light beer, and it's still my go-to. Great beer, great times. Grill on. Miller Lite. Great taste. 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Cheers to 50 years of Miller Lite. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
I mean, why are you saying here, before we get to Juju, why are you saying that streaming is dead?
Well, actually, I wanted to talk about this yesterday with Greg Cody, because he was talking about how much he loves that show Mobland. And Mobland, it was a phenomenal show on Paramount Plus. A-listers, Tom Hardy, Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren. And it turns out that it's in jeopardy of not getting renewed, despite being really good, because the numbers just aren't there.
Also a big cast. I mean, that's an expensive cast, sounds like.
Well, yeah, connected to that, the Disney Plus show Andor, season 2 just wrapped up. It's done incredibly because it's the Star Wars show that's for people who don't watch Star Wars. It's very gritty. It's very grounded in reality. And Tony Gilroy, who's the showrunner, he's the guy behind Michael Clayton and other great movies that you might love. He said basically Disney told him, we're out of streaming after this in terms of TV shows. We're going back to just put it into movies, and the idea here is that they just found out it's not a worthwhile business model to be sinking premium money into creating premium content for streaming.
Can actors or actresses take a role that then ruins their reputation for you? Like, do you have anything? Because we had the family over this weekend. They were talking about that. They were talking about Helen Mirren, and Helen Mirren is one of the actors or actresses that gets the classic. Well, she's classically trained from the theater, and everyone was saying, "Oh yeah, classically trained from the theater, classically trained from the theater." Like, this is this big respectful thing. I go, she's in 4 Fast and Furious movies. Let's relax with how great Helen Mirren is. She is in the Fast and the Furious now. No more classically trained for Helen Mirren. Fast and the Furious.
I thought that was the greatest praise an actor could get in your world.
It is the greatest praise in my world. In my world, one of the biggest insults is classically trained from the theater. Okay. So when they're saying that, Helen Mirren. I was like, no, that's Jason Statham's mom. Like, enough with the theater situation.
Juju, before we get to you, I do want to just sort of be curious about why it is that Mobland wouldn't be renewed, and just like that is renewed, the Sex and the City spinoff on Max, when that show needed to die.
Sex sells, though, Dan.
But this is not the kind of sex that sells. No. Do you think that...
It's Sex in the City. I mean,
okay, so fine. Miranda with Rosie O'Donnell is the sex that sells. At Le Batard Show, put it on the poll. Is Miranda with Rosie O'Donnell the sex that sells? Juju, what is the fan commentary that we have on today's show? What is the criticism that people are levying at us today?
Miranda?
Good to be here. Happy Pride Month to the community out there. You feel me? Joseph Joe Lights from Twitter says, I'm not letting Dan claim flan as Cuban. And he put up a article where it says, flan is a Spanish and Mexican dessert.
It's in Spanish because Spanish kind of did all that.
Also, I've been corrected by my brethren. Even though we call it creme caramel in Sudan, it's not actually creme caramel. It's flan, but we just call it that.
Yes, Living Sleazy also says, someone tell Dan that flan belongs to all Latinos, not just Cubans.
Breakfast flan. No more beat because Billy's mad at me.
Tony, what are your thoughts here? Billy, what are your thoughts on Cuba being flan? That getting to be ours? Do you guys reject
Cuba was flan, I'd swim right now. Breakfast flan.
You'd risk communism in order to get to breakfast flan?
I've been through a lot worse, Dan.
Did you guys not think, do I have this wrong, Billy and Tony, did you not think that flan was Cuban?
I think that the word flan is Cuban, right? So when I think of that, that's what I think of. But I think people have it by other names, and it's kind of the same dish. It just goes by different names.
Breakfast flan.
I was looking up where everything was from yesterday because I feel like we do claim everything. So I was like, I don't know. Like tequeños, I think, are Venezuelan.
Yeah,
I was looking up like everything to see exactly where it came from. Yeah. I mean, I get it at a Cuban bakery, but I don't know its land of origin.
Cuban bread, ours.
I know it's the destination though. In my belly.
The word flan is French. The earliest settlers in Cuba were French. That's why my last name is the Bastard.
Breakfast flan. Bastard.
Also, I think the show Mobland, I think it fell victim to being on Paramount Plus. If it was on Max, then it would be all over the world right now, but no one asked me that. I'm so sorry.
No, what do you mean? What are you sorry about? It doesn't.
We were talking about it right before you came on.
Sorts of opinions given out here that no one is given permission to give. I don't know why you're apologizing for your opinion. Before we get to polls, though, what else do you have for us today? You know what we haven't talked about? Everyone's watching the softball. There is a lot of televised softball
Massive
going on.
ratings, yes.
But we are not among those who are watching the softball.
Yeah, I watched. I'm locked in. Yesterday, Oklahoma versus Texas Tech. Oh my goodness, so much drama. They had a shutout pitch until the bottom of the 7th inning, where Oklahoma had one strike left. Hit a home run to tie the game, 2-run homer, and then Texas Tech came back in the bottom of the inning and closed the deal. Oklahoma, who has pretty much one of the winningest softball teams in history. There was like 7 consecutive World Series appearances, if not championships. You know what I mean? I think in my opinion, I think those women deserve a league, a professional softball league. We should have one. Start off with like 8 teams or so, you know what I mean? Because I think these little girls, they love this. And it's a shame that this is the highest level of softball, other than the Olympics, that we get.
Juju, I have a question for you. You mentioned that one of the teams had 7 straight championship appearances. Is that A, knowledge that Juju has because I've been a softball fan forever? B, knowledge Juju has because it was mentioned on the broadcast? Or C, knowledge that Juju has because he went and did the homework and the research once he started getting into softball?
Now, I was watching it on the game and they kept saying it. And so I was locked in just to tune in to – they got the best pitcher at Texas Tech. I can't even think of her name on the spot right now. But she's the first millionaire NIL pitcher. ever.
Good for
I was
her.
just rooting for her. You know what I mean? I was rooting for her, and then whenever she almost blew it at the end, my heart was broken. But they kept hammering it over our head how good Oklahoma has been.
Isn't it some sort of ridiculous upset that Texas Tech beat Oklahoma for the first time in a long time? One of the things you said about World Series appearances, I don't think it's possible that Oklahoma has won 7 straight titles. They've probably made 7 straight appearances in the bidding for the title. But wasn't Texas Tech beating them as like a 13 or something?
Right, 12.
So one of the larger upsets you're going to find, and no one's ever expecting, I guess, Oklahoma to lose to Texas Tech in that situation.
Juju, you asked for and you received. Launching in June 2025 is an AUSL Athletes Unlimited Softball League, professional women's softball league featuring 4 teams playing a 24-game season in a traditional format. So you
well
asked,
deserved.
and they delivered.
Athletes Unlimited. That's the. They also did the basketball. That's where my celebrity game Bad Shot is from. It's from the Athletes Unlimited women's. Viral decontextualization.
I believe Kim Ang runs that league.
She's the commissioner of the league.
Yeah.
Jenny Finch is an advisor. So, yeah, it's coming together.
Oklahoma has won 4 consecutive NCAA titles, made it to 8 straight.
Dynasty.
Woo.
Yeah. What was it,
Definitely dynasty. And the pitcher's name is Nigeri Kennedy. Niger. Salute to Niger.
Can you give us any commentary on the beef between Bill Simmons and Pablo Torre? It seems everyone at Meadowlark Media is siding with Bill Simmons for some reason.
Not true.
I don't understand what's happening there.
I definitely side with Pablo for sure. Because
Same.
Bill Simmons, he came at me on social media a couple weeks ago. He went under the radar when he tried to get us back or something. But neither here nor there. I still give Bill Simmons the credit for having Pablo on his show. I know Pablo would have loved for him to be on Pablo Torre Finds Out, but I'm sure that Bill was like, nah, never. I still want the smoke. And he didn't duck the smoke. A lot of people could be keyboard warriors, so I commend both of those brothers for stepping up to the task, and hopefully it remains civil because we know how Pablo gets.
Juju, here's the problem, Juju. You're saying, oh, yeah, he wants to smoke. But, again, it's not a live show. So he could go on there and Pablo can ask the questions that you don't want me to ask about. And then Bill can go ahead, chop, 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 edit, and it comes out. It just comes out as like Pablo's like, duh. And Bill's like, oh, it's cool,
Then you pull a Tim Dillon with CNN and say, put it all out. And then they do it. And then you get to win on the back end.
Yeah.
That's also a Shannon Sharp. Put it all out. What were you laughing about there, Billy? What was so funny?
I just said that's quite an accusation.
I mean, I'm just saying he could do that.
It is a big accusation. He could do that, and you are just saying it, but you're claiming some great immorality in editing that would embarrass Pablo and favor Bill. It's a reckless speculation.
You think Bill is going to favor Pablo and embarrass himself on his own show?
I don't know why you'd assume anybody would be embarrassed in that scenario.
It's on Bill's home court. I mean,
which podcast
is
Pablo?
it on?
Is it Bill Simmons' podcast, or is it on the Rewatchables, which was the podcast where it happened? Because it'd be great if he has Pablo on and they don't talk about it at all. They just rewatch an old movie.
They just talk about Heaven Can Wait.
Yeah.
File.
Again, Pablo would not let that injustice happen, though. You think Pablo gonna let that happen from the creators of Jordan and the crew? Nah. If it is an injustice, he gonna talk about it on Pablo Torre Finds Out. 100%.
Dan, again, the quote is, since you have such a strong public opinion about my work, I happen to have a few questions for you specifically. You think they're just going to go over there and just say like, oh, it was a misunderstanding? No, Pablo's coming there with questions. Questions that could be damaging to Bill Simmons.
Juju, do you like the idea of a either television detective or someone dressed like Pablo coming in and their signature phrase after opening up a briefcase being, I happen to have a few questions for you?
I love it. I love it 100%.
Dan, we also workshopped the end of the cold open to the first episode. He does that bit that you just said, and the guy is left like shaking and he's sweating and he's like pale. And as Pablo's walking out, it's like, who is this guy? And he turns around and is like, I'm Pablo Torre. And I find out. And he throws a toothpick at him and we get the opening credits.
Okay, I thought it was fine the way that it was, but now we're.
That's why you're not
It needs a
TV.
little bit more. It needs a little bit
Exploding
more.
toothpick, yeah.
Okay, so the exploding toothpick of threat.
That makes everything. Dan.
Okay, an exploding toothpick is what you've added to the mix.
Slow motion walking away with the explosion
He
behind.
needs something. All he has is questions.
Is it getting embedded in Simmons' forehead? What's happening with the toothpick? It's just
exploding.
exploding.
It explodes on
dynamite.
contact.
It wrecks everything.
It's a good thing. It just has to get close enough. You know, it doesn't have to exactly hit the target because it explodes.
Okay, so it's
Horseshoes
a
and
toothpick
hand
that
grenades.
acts as a grenade. Excellent. Okay. It couldn't be enough to be a briefcase and a detective. Now we have to throw an exploding toothpick in the mix to make it just a little better than
Imagine if that's how it all ends for Pablo, right? He's there finding out, but he's really just blowing up all these investigations with like explosions. Then he goes to prison for mass murder.
Loser.
And then he could be a Cowboys fan.
At Le Batard Show, it was good enough the way that I was doing it. We didn't need the exploding toothpicks. At Le Batard Show,
Debatable.
What are the poll questions today that people and yesterday, since you weren't here, if you've got any from yesterday, we've had a lot of them the last 2 days.
Hell yeah. Is Kevin Costner sneaky tall? 75% of the audience says yes, he is.
6'1" was a stunner. I did not have him over 6 feet.
Right. Would you like to eat a hot dog that is made of alligator? 54% of the audience says yes, they would.
Really?
46% of cowards.
Wow, that is he walked out on Duke and decided to stay in the NBA draft.
He blew it. Did the Knicks finish in third place? 58% of the audience says no, they did not.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Ridiculous.
I'm sorry, Stugotz.
Mathematically, they did.
Well,
according to Thibodeau, they did.
According to the internet, they did not.
Loser.
Is the bronze medalist a winner or a loser? 55% of the audience says a loser.
This is American exceptionalism, right? Around the world, bronze medal is something that's greeted with honor and respect. Here we're like, you loser.
Loser.
I mean, let's think for a second.
Third place.
Is anyone listening to this third place in the world at anything? Good enough to be third place
That
in
you
the
would brag about
in
it,
the
right.
world at anything.
Having my keys in the wrong pocket when I'm approaching my front door.
There might be somebody listening to this who is saying that I am not third place, I'm first place in seeing a live microphone at a lacrosse game and saying that Sacred Heart, a lot of people are saying that they are filled with diarrhea. But other than that, I don't think there's anyone listening to this that can claim to finish top 3 in the world at anything.
A lot of people saying Sacred Heart has diarrhea.
I'm third place best in the world at picking the shopping cart with the squeaky wheel.
Oh, I hate that.
Does alligator taste like chicken that has been swimming? 78% of the audience says yes. Which hurts more? People thinking you're lazy or people thinking you're dumb?
Both.
72% of the audience says people thinking you're dumb. Hurts a little more. Is a sandwich a finger food?
No.
58% of the audience says yes.
What?
Only if it's cut
What are
up
we
into
doing here?
like 4.
Right. Very small pieces.
What are we
Right.
talking
It
about?
can't be a full
No,
sandwich.
a sandwich is not a. It's got to be
sandwich
It's got to be a
is
tiny
a sandwich!
It's got to be a tiny sandwich. If it's a tiny sandwich,
Well,
it's
that's
a
what we're
finger
saying.
food. No,
Yes.
but
If you
that's
cut it up
not-
in
that's-
fours, yeah.
And also, you got to be able to do this.
That's important.
Yeah.
Do you take your hat off when you give someone a tip of the cap? 64% of the audience says yes, you
No,
do.
doing it wrong.
Thank you. You don't just do this, Chris. You don't just tip your cap.
That's hats off.
It is different. Hats off is different than tip of the cap.
So
It
for
is.
hats
It's-
off, do you
it's
just tip the
different.
end of your
It's-
cap? Like,
it's
what are we doing
different.
here?
It's different.
Is it humanly possible to be great as the quarterback for the New York Jets?
100%.
88% of the audience says no, it is not. Favorite ice cream to order from an ice cream truck?
Wow.
The choices were strawberry shortcake bars, Choco Taco, Push Pops, and Bomb Pops. 39% of the audience says Choco Tacos.
Congratulations, Tony.
They're good.
Can never have one again.
I'm just picturing the 12% of those Jets fans like, no, it is possible. I'm voting no. Sure.
Greeny?
Yeah, Greeny voted for sure. Stugotz definitely voted on that one.
I'm the one who said Justin Fields has no chance of being great.
More versatile food, potato or tomato?
This is big.
Oh, wow.
76% of the audience says potatoes.
Whoa!
Made out of vodka, Dan.
You know what? That's
out of vodka.
asinine.
The vodka.
That's just the potato being more popular than the tomato. That
big
is
tomato.
bullshit.
That's
That
big
is
potato. That's
bullshit.
big
You
potato.
cannot make that claim.
Are potatoes made of vodka? 51% of the audience says yes, they are.
A big win for Tony. A big win.
What
It was a
delicious,
tag.
what delicious condiment do you get from potatoes? Nothing. Ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. You're so right. This is just.
But
the
what
potato.
tomato do you put a condiment on?
Right.
Good question. Did you know that the crow/raven is the smartest bird in the world? 66% of the audience says yes, they knew that.
That's nonsense.
Smart asses.
Is Blewett a worse name for a pitcher or a kicker? 64% of the audience says is worse for a kicker. And the last poll
I got every poll wrong today.
is accusing someone of having diarrhea an insult.
A lot of people saying Sacred Heart has diarrhea.
Okay.
56% of the audience says yes, it is an insult. And before we get out of here, William McBroom from Instagram says, not sure if you guys will read this, but I hope you and everyone who works on the show know how much it means to the fans. I've been in a really bad headspace the last few days, and the show always makes me laugh when absolutely nothing else can. Y'all bring so much happiness to everyone who listens and have always given me a bright place to go when things seems dark. Thanks, y'all. And that's William McBroom. Thank you, brother.
I don't believe that's a real name. I don't believe that.
Willie McBroom?
I don't believe that that's a real person. I don't believe McBroom is the real name.
Great closer.
Yes.
A lot of people saying Sacred Heart has diarrhea.
Okay, we apologize for our crowd mic.